Okay, good. So we're having in mind again Yitzhak Rachman ben Ezra ben Simcha, and we're also dedicating our learning to the Hilula of Rebbe Nosson. Rebbe Nosson's Yotzai is tonight and tomorrow, and we have the schus to be learning Relationship Flow podcast with the focus on the Likutei Tevet and waking up in the right headspace to improve our relationships, to understand from Panemius Satori, get all the right advice. And Rabbi Nosson is bringing his advice from Rabbi Nachman ben Feiga, ben Simcha, and there's no bigger day than Sarah B'Tevis, which is his Hilula, to sit and learn these Torahs. So Shkocha Patas we've been learning the whole time, and it will come out that we'll be learning. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to say, like people aren't around so much, so I just won't learn. But Baruch Hashem, we're able to do this. Okay, sure, yeah, Baruch Hashem. I think we should do a phone call on this one because sometimes it's not always so clear. So you want to call back on a regular phone? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, there's the Shem. Yeah, I'll try to do it by mommy. Okay, let's see. Okay. Baruch Hashem, it's just to learn Torah together. And to understand that the Panemius of Torah is going to give us a connection to the Tzaddikim, to not allow the Manias to go on in life, and to be strong in the ability, to be strong in the ability. So for some reason it's only letting me with WhatsApp. I can't locate your number on my phone. I don't know why. So it should work. Let's go for it. So it says, sleep for the soul. Azai says Rebbe Nosson, Azai mishish shabe, it's a shena, it's taivas moment. Remember, we were talking about the mitzvah of tzedakah and the importance of tzedakah, and giving Ilya Nishmas for mishpocha is also a form of tzedakah, donating sedurim, all these beautiful things. So we're talking about two Torahs here, one breaking sleep and breaking your desire for money. That's what we've been learning about in the last session. And this is in Rising Early in Hashkamas Boker, Halacha Beis. We did Aleph, now we're doing Halacha Beis, Beis of Beis. We're doing the second part of Halacha Beis. And they are new in the morning, so we're going to see that every day you have the ability to wake up. As I Adara B'Sheni Hi Tova. Story. So the idea of breaking this desire to sleep and for money, but they're both things that can be used for good. Like sleeping, says Rabbi Nosson, is Adar B'Shena Tova Lo Daikas. It's very helpful, like if someone sleeps healthily every night, they're going to be saved from all kind of illness. They're going to have a fresh mind in the morning. One of the tikkunim that go on when you go to sleep is your neshama goes up, a chelik of your neshama, and you get a new chelik every day to better do what you need to do. So sleep has a lot of important benefits. So why are we trying to break the desire for sleep? Because he explains that through sleep one renews the soul. So there in the morning your emunah is great. I think what he's hinting at, that the way Rabbi Nachman is explaining it, is that we need to renew our soul, but we need to renew it with soul, and not just be like sleeping in a way that's like focusing on desire. Rather, it's a sleep that revitalizes our soul. So it's rather than tapping into the misa, like the death part of sleep, which is 1/60th of death, which I spoke about in Sif Aleph in the previous section. We want to tap into the beneficial, the soulful part of sleep. So really, we have to understand, like everything with physicality, there's always a ruchnius part, and there's a part that can take us away from our avoda. So one of the ways we know this is Shena has in it the same letters, if according to some spellings, as Yud and then a Hey. Yeah. Achila has Yud and Hey. Yeah, Lina, Yud and Hey. Shtia, Yud and Hey. So all these ideas is everything has a connection to the Shem Havaya, which is Yud and Hey, which is giving us a ruchnius connection to renewed Mochin, new Chochma Bina Das, new connection to the higher letters of the Shem Havaya. And when we do mitzvahs, it's Vav and Hey. Torah is Vav and Hey. And that's bringing down the Ruchnis into the world. But when we're learning, when we're eating and drinking, and we're involved in this world, we're attaching ourselves to a higher element of Gilui of Hashem, and we have to draw out that element and bring it down into our life. And that's a higher level tikkun than even doing Torah mitzvahs in a certain way if we do it right. It's a high madrega, these kind of concepts, but the point is that we have to try to tune into the more spiritual aspects of sleep and realize that we're trying to spiritualize. One of the things I saw from Moshe Weinberger, there's this whole thing about these mystics. He wasn't really into that word. He was Panimis Torah. So he said in the podcast on that, he said that the whole reason he's more into Chassidus than he is into Kabbalah, which is the same with me, is that Chassidus was about Shem Tov was teaching us how to make a yichud, unification in the physical. And whereas Kabbalah is more like technical, panemius, like on the higher realms, and getting into those inyanim, whereas Chassidus is teaching us how to have a relationship with our wife, how to have a relationship with our children, how to give them love, how to give them a feeling of connection, how to tune into sleep that spiritualizes our sleep, not to get so caught up in all the panemius of what sleep is and where it is and all the different alomas and worlds and heicholas. We don't always need to know all this kind of information. It's Kabbalah. In a way, it's more lamais, it's more practical to learn Chassidus. And even though it's panemius of Chassidus, it's Kabbalah, but the goal is to bring Kesser into Malchus, into this world. And the same too with sleep, to realize that sleep is a spiritual experience. Every morning we wake up, and it's a pasuk from Eicha, I think, that we wake up. It's from Eicha. We wake up in the morning, Rabba Manasecha, like we say, Moirani, we say Rabba Manasecha. That's from a pasuk. Great is your munah in us, because you're new in the morning, you're fresh, and that's the kind of head we want to have every day. And having the right mindset, by the way, in the morning will make a big effect on your day. And as I've said many times, the big advice I got in all the previous sessions, one of the first things I said over on the relationship flow was, the first thing you should do is thank Hashem for your soulmate. And if you don't have it yet right now, then you're one step closer, as we said. One more date, one more experience, one more connection closer to getting that soulmate. And that's what the Tzaddikim said when one of my relatives got divorced. You're one zivug closer to your soulmate. Similarly, through the money that a person earns, he renews his soul by engaging in giving and take a business with Amunah. So really, like one of the harder things, I don't know if you've ever gone through this, when you have a dry patch in business. Like right now, before Hanukkah, I was like full on. And during Hanukkah also somewhat. I was able to, thank God, as we spoke about, make time for the spirituality of Hanukkah and not get completely pulled into it. Baruch Hashem. But now I've come out of Hanukkah, there's slightly less going on. I mean, there is some bookings, there's some blacks around and doing some local Israel bookings and trying to plan ahead for the coming Chodoshim, the months, but it's not like full on. Now, one of the things when you're fully engaged in business, I'm sure you get this, it's very it's the give and take. It does renew you. It does get you engaged. It gets your energy going. Yeah. So there's also that aspect with, just like with sleep energizes you, so too with business. Which is the concept of sleep, is written in the lesson Asher Am Zarka, that we teaches that there is a businessman who has amunah, suffers no loss as a result of his amunah and integrity. So when you're yashar, when you're straight with business, that by breaking the desire for wealth and transacting his business affairs of amunah, he turns an exceptional profit, namely a renewed soul. One of the things we're getting right now, just for me personally in business, a lot of requests from yeshivas and programs. So a lot of them some have more money, some have less. And you're trying to be straight with every program and the amount they want to book my artists for. You're trying to keep it straight and yashar, but you also have to be flexible. And like some programs say it's a mir sharim, they're not exactly rock and roll with the panasa, so you have to do a little bit of a chesed with a discount. Otherwise, don't do it. But basically, once you're doing it, you do it with chesed, and that whole assessment, that we work. Thank God Nissim's a good person to do it with, because he's a holy yid. But when you're working it out, like it brings everything to a good energy, because you know now that you're inspiring people without like taking advantage of them, and you're being real, even if financially maybe you're not rolling in it afterwards, but you're being real. And this is one of the important things that in our generation, if you spend less, if you live a more passionate life, and you don't live a fancy life, so then you have less pressure on you to find different ways to get money, and then you're probably more likely to be more straight in business, because you have a better value system, but secondly, you're less pressured from the needs of the family, because you're not living that way. One of the things I find in business also, you can get Gedalia Fencer talks about this a lot. We're gonna have a look at his Torah. He says the idea of, and please God, we're bringing Gedalia Tel Aviv at the beginning of February, Frat, and then Yerushalayim, a big event, we're in the middle of organising it. So one of the points of Gedalia, and I really connected to this. I don't know if you've ever groaned, or like we talk about it. We want to take away these groans, these sighs of sadness. We want to turn darkness into joy. So he has a beautiful Torah from Rebbe Nachman, which is one of the first Torahs of Likutei. And he says, when a person is happy, gloom and suffering stand aside. Yet greater still is to gather courage to actually pursue gloom and introduce it into joy, such that the gloom itself turns into joy. So your sighing and your groaning become part of joy. He talks about it underneath. He said, a seed for growth. True joy doesn't mean waiting for the sadness to pass, it means transforming it. Rabbi Nachman teaches us that work isn't just to put sadness aside, but to face it, reach for it, bring it into joy itself. When you celebrate life with everything inside of you, even the parts that one feels heavy, you begin to shift from surviving to elevating. This isn't about pretending things are perfect, it's about courage, joy. Conversely, courage or struggle slowly turns them into light. So then you're in a way, the moment of joy, and you start to transform these groans, these painful moments, sighing. He says in the Likutei, they will attain gladness or joy as sadness and sighing flee. It's a pasuk in Yeshaya. Sadness and sighing flee and run from joy. For at a time of joy is a nature of sadness and sighing to stand aside. One actually has to pursue them and to catch up with and reach them in order to specifically introduce them into joy. You have to constantly, just like you meet someone who's a bit sad, you introduce him to your crew, and you're trying to get him into a good energy, You have to do that in your inner world. You're trying to introduce parts of yourself, different attributes that are more sad and down, to the more happier elements, and to elevate them and to pick them up. Like taking a sad part of yourself and dancing with it until it's no longer sad. This is all we have to try, all these different methodologies. And this connects back into this with the idea with business and sleep, that if you're not, in a lazy, slow, no energy state, so then you're able to transform your sleep and your money into in a holy avoda, into a munah, and it's a soulful. So he goes on and says, this is the explanation of the verse, lazy one. How long will you lie down? When will you rise from your sleep? In other words, how long will you lie down and sleep lazily? When are you going to break the desire for sleep? We have a morning, shacharis. Me personally, I've chosen the 8-10 minyan. And I try go swimming, and I try be there for a minute for my wife, and try to have a good preparation for davening. Be in a good, physical, emotional state. So you have to break sleep probably 6:30. You need to be up already. Because if you start getting up at 7:45 and you've got a minyan at 8:10, the likelihood of being on time is very low, and you've got no time for any preparation, no coffee, no cleaning yourself, no other extra activity like swimming to get yourself in a more physical, healthy state. You've got no time for it. So everyone needs at least an hour or more, in my opinion, before Shacharis to really get ready for the holy avoda of what it means to enter the realm of Shacharis. As we've been talking about in Tanya, Shacharis is a holy, it's a ladder towards the higher realms of Atzilus, to become one with Hashem. So you have to break that taiva to sleep to better even have a chance of getting into those higher places, those higher ways of consciousness. If you're sloughing away and running into Shacharis, and you're still sleeping halfway in Shacharis, you're dozing and stuff. That's nothing, that's never. It's not really what it's about. We have to break this sleepiness and this laziness. We have to flip it around, just like we said, flipping the sadness into joy. We have to flip the aspect of sleep to energy, to being energized, to coming out with a great consciousness, to feel strong, to feel ready for the day, not this sleepiness. It's all about transforming experiences of life. There's a guy out there, I don't know if you ever listened to him, his name's Tom Billieu. Some people like it, some people don't, but I take out a good element from him, and he probably got it from some of the people he's spoken to over the years, like David Goggins or someone. But basically, you should always use every experience to help be a benefit for yourself. Every single aspect of your life, that it should in some way help you become more effective, like Tim Ferriss talks about. So you take sleep and how to become effective at sleeping. One of the Tzaddikim are very effective at using everything in this world. Their sleep, their eating, their drinking, their connection with people. They understand how to use every moment in life in a way that brings them increased consciousness, increased awareness, increased focus. And like the Divrei Chaim, he became a chochem at sleeping. So when he went to sleep, he was able to sleep in such a way that he would sleep, say, for 2 hours, what would take us 8 hours. He was able to sleep cleverly. He was able to sleep effectively. So when he slept, he got the most out of it in the shortest time. This is the understanding of Tzaddikim. And it's all a lot to do with Rotzen. There's a whole book from Rav Shalom Arush called Or Chadash, A New Light. And there he talks, as one of the books I actually gave to Gedalia. One of the first copies I gave to Gedalia Fenston when I was in Miami. He was so happy, and he's used it a lot since then. He's one of those people who really takes those books and writes notes and really makes it part of him. So the Rav Arush, when I was with Rav Arush there, and learning from that book and giving shirim in that book, it gives you a very deep understanding of what sleep is and the Indian of rots and of will. That you're tuning into a very deep aspect of yourself connected to sleep, that you want to sleep for Hashem, you want to sleep for renewal, you want to sleep for the soul. It's about what you want, and not just because you want to sleep for the taiva of sleep. You don't want to make business for the taiva of making money. You want to make business so you can be energized and bring tikkun to the world and bring energy to the world, bring energy to your life, to your family and sustenance. And it's like a different mindset that elevates everything. Zeh masai takum mishnasech, says Rebbe Nosson. This is the meaning when takum from your sleep. That is, you will have takuma, a revival, such your soul will arise and be elevated through sleep. When a person merits elevated soul by breaking the desire of sleep, he thereby affects a yichud between a Kodesh Baruch Hu and his Shechina. See, isn't it powerful? So by elevating your sleep and your desire for sleep, you create a yichud, a unification between Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the Shechina. This is like, as we said, what the Baal Shem Tov's kavanah is. This revival, this soulful sleep, brings a yichud between the Kodesh Baruch Hu and Shechina, which is what one of the reasons we're in this world. This is the import that in Shulchan Aruch. Remember, we're learning the first halach of Shulchan Aruch. You awaken the shachar, waken up the morning. Waking up eagerly from sleep to serve Hashem is to awaken the Eilas HaShachar. And the Eilas HaShachar is the aspect of Malchus, the Shechina, for what? For their union, for this yichud. Obviously, that's a very Kabbalistic terminology, the idea of Eilas HaShachar, and the idea of Malchus, and the idea of, Rebbe Nosson explains, of preparing the Shechina for union, because there's a whole union about to take place. This is what one of the reasons we say before we put tefillin on, or even before that, talis, or even there's even some Siddurim that have a special Shem Kodesh Baruch Hu on just being Malamed Schus people and tuning into the right kavanas of the Shem Havaya. And in my Siddur, the Bel Siddur has that. And so all these preparations before you're about to make this union, this yichud, this unification. And this is the kind of mindset that we go into the day with through breaking the taiva of sleep, the desire for sleep. And it gives us the ability to have a whole new mindset, a whole new approach to our day, to our life. And we're tuning into the realm of unification. So just to review, sleep is very beneficial for one who breaks the desire for sleep and rises with zrizus. It strengthens his mind, renews his soul, and affects a yichud between the Kutcher Baruch Hu and Shechina. The same is true when one breaks his excessive desire for money, he transacts his business affairs with Amunah. This too renews the soul. So we end up with a much more soulful life, and that's the kind of life we should want. Bez Hashem, in the merit of Rabbi Nosson and learning his Torah, on his Hilula, on his holy Yotzai, we should Bez Hashem Zocha to be Talmidim of Rabbi Nachman, Talmidim who are soulful, renewed, have energy in our business, and our learning, and our sleeping, and everything has energy and is effective and brings yichud, brings unification. And the Baal Shem Tov's Ikka Kavana for everything in Chassidus was about bringing unity and unification. We look to see that in our life and see that with our soulmate, that we should unify with our soulmate. That's part of the unification, that we should unify with our soulmate, unify with our family, with love. And Bez Hashem will be zocheh with all those kind of renewed ways of looking at the halacha of Oira the Shachar, that we're making a unification by breaking our sleep. We'll come to a much more soulful life, and then the real panimis kavana of the Shulchan Aruch will be Makayim, and we'll elevate everything to Hashem. Amen. Amen.